All right, so now we're going to talk about assignment 2. The idea is we're going to sketch and understand our component parts just like we did for the landscape, but this time the component parts are going to belong to an animal. And we're going to do that animal from head to toe, all sides of it just floating on a blank background. So we really need to understand where the anatomy connects so that we can have the option of animating it later. So we want to use at least 5 different references, preferably from different types of animals, so we get kind of really creative solutions. But ultimately, it all comes down to silhouette and the shape. And so a resource I often point to for that is Pokemon, which can suggest a lot with just their shape. The scale of the head to the body. And so you could think of this as making kind of realistic Pokemon. Or you might go for something else, some other kind of monster. And you can combine mechanical with organic, but you just want to make sure the lighting matches and the anatomy matches. You can combine, make human hybrids. So how do we get started? Well, if we go into our class, on the assignment sheet, let's get into the right course here. There is a link to a Pokédex. This is assignment 2. So you might start there, or you might already know, I really want to do a griffin. I want to do my version of a griffin, and I want to sketch and look at different griffin examples and really make it something special. So these are the details of the assignment that you can read to remind yourself. If I use this Pokédex, got so many different just silhouettes here. What kind of jumps out to me? Try not to limit yourself too much based on what your setting is. Like I have an Arctic setting, but that doesn't mean I need a white Pokemon like this. So that's kind of fun. Basically, anything you can imagine comes from something. Oh, I think I'm doing this. That's leaping out at me. But I liked this picture best. They don't have it bigger. Maybe I can find it. Because it reminds me of a walrus. So I'm even just going to take this small, tiny picture. Stoutland. I'll take this one too as reference. But I don't know. I look at that and I think walrus. And I think that would be fun. I haven't worked with a walrus. This might be like a platypus with like a cush ball. I don't know. So you're going to go based on shape, what you're interested in. You could go abstract. You know, this could be jellyfish with uterus, whatever you want.
That was actually based off a paper.
There you go. So there's nothing that's kind of off limits in terms of what is going to inspire your creature, but you want to start thinking of kind of a shape profile. Start your sketching. And there are so many. Yeah, so I'm committed. So now, before I start looking for walrus photos, because that's not going to help me, not yet, I have to sketch. So I'm going to sketch digitally, but you can do this in your sketchbook. So pretend this is my sketchbook. There's my seam. Okay. I know I am inspired by this. This is my little clipping. So I might put that in my sketchbook. Or I might print it out and paste it into there. And it doesn't need to be in color in order to be informative. But I like color. And on the computer it's free. So I'll do that. Okay, now I'm just going to brainstorm what kind of shapes or what kind of creatures do I think make this creature up. So the immediate thing is I'm thinking a walrus. I'm just really excited to work with a walrus. Just this big kind of lumpy, heavy form. Then I see that kind of mustache there. So maybe, in general, just like a mustache, maybe made out of a river otter. I don't know. Gives me a place to start. He's got these crazy like tentacle things that are furry. So maybe some sort of tail, some sort of trunk. What animal parts could work for that? Or what something else, maybe like sea kelp. Maybe kelp forest, like bulbs. He's got this different colored body, which is nice. So I might use kind of the walrus body and anatomy at the back. I like that it's hidden there, not so dog-like. But I might cover it with some other sort of texture, like a whale texture. Something watery. So maybe like killer whale texture. That kind of shiny slickness. And then he's got this kind of crown of hair at the top. That might be something with coral, sea coral. And then the ears look very fox-like. There's so many fox ears. So maybe like deer. Deer ears. All right. Now I'm just putting that down, and when I start doing kind of Google image searches, I want to have 6 megapixels or bigger. Not megabytes, megapixels when I do my image search. So that's under large settings. You want larger than 6 megapixels. Because we will be using other people's pixels to build our image. But I also want to kind of figure out my take on this creature. So I'm going to start with the cranium, which is usually circular. So there's my circular cranium, right? And then the mandible, which is the mouth that attaches to it. And I want to show the direction of the head. So my head is going to be at this 3/4 view. Pokemon do a really good job of showcasing the character in a way that's descriptive and iconic. So they're not showing it from the front. They're not showing it from extreme profile. They're showing it in a 3/4 view so you can get a sense of its dimensionality even in just one pose. I can see where the eyes are. This is like basic shapes again. But I want to have a slightly larger mandible because I'm thinking more walrus-like. Then I want to see what the spine is doing. The spine connects with the back of the head, which is about here. And then it comes down and around like that. And I might have like back flippers for my guy. I'm thinking more walrus, big chest cavity. So you want to show where the rib cage is because that's bone and that cannot be compressed. And then you have to show where the joints are. So thinking of walrus again, I'm thinking the joints are here. A walrus just has flippers, right? But mine is going to have legs. And I have to think what kind of legs would make sense with something this size. I'm not going to use little like hippo leg or dog legs. So maybe hippo legs. Something that could hold a lot of weight. Though it's probably going to be hard to find reference of hippo legs. But it may be rhinoceros, maybe something else. I like to use things that are looking kind of unusual. But here's the thing that's important for your sketch. Know where the collarbone is. You can think of it as the top rung of your rib cage, right? Know how wide it is and know where the joints are. So here I'm indicating the joints in red. Because you need these to be consistent in order for your character to look like it can move. So it's a little more complicated than just layering up different landscape textures. Okay, then if I just do flippers for the back, like a tail, I don't have to deal with legs, and I don't have to deal with back joints, right? But it still has to touch the ground and support weight. So I need flippers that are kind of bent. So those might be from a seal, sea lions, there's probably a lot of reference of them, and they're often holding their weight on their back flippers. And then this texture, I just want a lot of flesh and a lot of weight back here and texture and a big thick neck. And this might be all whale. So I can make little things here. So this might be killer whale. This might be walrus. It seems a shame to do a walrus and not do tusks. So these big things, I was thinking maybe sea kelp. Maybe it'll be a combination of tusk and sea kelp. So I'll just use the tusk in a slightly different way. And then I have these big sea kelp bulbs. At least that's what I'm envisioning, kind of hanging off. And then coral. Advantage of sketching digitally, I can use different colors. You can do that with your sketchbook as well, just to help me understand where these things are going to come from. And just because it's a walrus, I don't need to use walrus tusks. I might use elephant tusks. I might use mammoth tusks. Ooh. Mammoth tusks. All right. Now just for the top, I'm excited about this idea of using sea coral as this kind of crown to break up the shape. And it will kind of fit with this theme. And then for the ears, I have deer ears. I'm not sold on them yet. And I might edit those out. Who knows? Maybe I'll use horns. I think horns. No, that looks too cow-like. Ram's horns. That's the ticket. So those should be some interesting textures. I'm going to have a mustache that's made up of some other creature, maybe a sea otter, because they get this nice kind of white in their fur when they get older. And if I zoom in on a walrus mustache, I'll probably find one. You're going to see it's pretty disgusting. So I might want something a little more visually appealing. Okay, but ultimately, as I'm doing this sketch, notice I haven't looked up any reference yet, but I am referencing my Pokemon. And I'm using it to kind of judge what is a good position to build all these structures on. If I had a pelvis for my creature, it would be here. And if I wanted to have a tail and legs, I could build that in as well. If I wanted wings, they would have to go onto the scapulas at the back of the rib cage and come out here. But that kind of muddies my overall shape, so I don't want that. So you make your decisions, you edit it as you like, but that sketch is going to be our template that we build and look for reference. So now that I have this, I'm going to save it. This is my Carl assignment 2 sketch, fantasy creature, collage. Save that. Now I need to do the hard work of image searching. And instead of image searching and making different folders for mountains or lunar eclipse like I did in the past, I'm instead going to do it by animal parts. And you want at least 5. And try not to do more than 8. And the good thing about finding animal, say horns, or crest, coral. The good thing about finding animal reference, and it's a little sad, and I'm not for killing animals, but you can find a lot of dead animal reference. You can find a lot of taxidermy. You can find a lot of like slaughtered whales, things like that. Good textural resources, because we're becoming kind of digital taxidermists here. We're going to be piecing the things together. What's hard is you need the lighting to more or less match between them, because it's harder to get away with changes in lighting on a specific figurative element. So I'm going to do ram horns, I thought.